you doing tonight?
Good, Karen. How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You and I were just talking today, yesterday, something like that, about how our downloads are going on the podcast. And I
hmm
was like, holy cow,
Yeah,
this podcast has exploded. There's so many people listening, downloading. I'm
Mhm.
so grateful to all of them. It's awesome, isn't it?
It is. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, so now because of that, because I now know that, I don't follow our stats. Pam does that. So
Yeah,
I really had no idea we could be speaking to one person or nobody or lots of people now, apparently, I guess. But
yeah.
so after Pam told me that, I was thinking, where are you? Why aren't you getting in touch with us? So this is my plea to you, dear listener. Please reach out. And I just found out after our last episode that you can text us, right, Pam?
Yeah,
You
there's a
can
link.
actually text us.
Yes, there's a text link, and all you have to do is, click on it, and it goes to our Buzzsprout account. It may cost extra for people who don't have that type of plan, but yeah, I think that would be really cool to get texts from our
Right.
listeners.
So, like, basically, I'm sorry,
hmm
I'm having an issue with my microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Text and data rates apply, that whole thing. But if you don't have that, then you should definitely text us, send us a message. I think it's in no matter what platform you're looking at, because I did look at a couple of them, and it's there. It's not just in Apple or in Spotify or whatever. It's in a variety of them.
hmm
So when you're looking at our podcast description for the show, you should see a little box that says text us or something like
Yeah.
that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so get in touch. And you might be wondering, like, well, why should I get in touch? Because we want to know what you want to hear about.
I know.
That's why we want you to get in touch with us.
I'm going to bring up a picture to show
All
people.
right,
I'll just
cool.
hold it up to the screen, what it
Yeah.
looks like. That's exactly right. We want to get more ideas.
Yeah, what do you want to hear about? What are you struggling with at this point in your life?
See if
We
you,
may
is
not have all the answers,
that going to
but
be
we love
backwards?
talking about it.
It's
There it
probably
is.
back.
Send us a text.
You see
Yeah.
that? Yeah. So it's very obvious.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's right at the top. It's
hmm
probably there on
hmm
every episode.
hmm
And I think that's a really cool feature that we have. And so
Yeah.
when we say get in touch with us, that's how you can do it. Unless, of course, you're watching this on YouTube, then you can leave us a comment. So one or the other, but we want to hear from you because obviously what we're doing is resonating with many people, but we only have so many ideas. So we want to hear from you. Give us your ideas.
Yeah. We're doing our best to come up with things. But I will say, Karen, it's possible that some of the older podcasts won't have the text on it because I just added it on there. Maybe when did I text you about it? Maybe 2 episodes ago, one
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. So
So
those
I don't know
older
if I'm
ones
going to have
may
to
not have it.
upload some of the older ones for that feature to happen. I haven't checked into that. I
Good
guess I'll,
point. Good
but
point.
anyway.
So yeah, definitely on our newer episodes, it's
hmm
there. Check it out. And yeah, tell us how we're doing, what you don't like, what you do like, and give us some episode ideas because we would love to hear from you. So that's my plea to just say, hey, connect with us. That's what this podcast is all about. It's
Yeah,
about connection. So we want to
it
connect with
is.
you.
It is. This is strictly a hobby. Karen and I are not in this for any type of money.
Yeah, we don't make any money
Strictly.
on this.
No, no.
We just love talking to each other and we love
Mhm.
connecting with other people.
Yeah.
So
We love getting texts from some of our friends saying, "Hey, you resonated with me." So yeah, I think it's been a really great hobby for
yeah,
sure.
for sure. For sure. Okay, well, let's go ahead and dive into our
Mhm.
topic for
Okay.
today, which is a good one. And the topic for tonight is about finding out who you are meant to be when the kids leave the nest. Because for so long, your identity may have revolved around your kids. As a mom, it was probably all about, initially it was changing diapers and play groups, and then maybe it was the PTO and the carpool, and as the kids got older it was staying awake when they're out at night and making sure they come home safe, all
Right.
those things you do until your kids are 18, and then they leave. And so what happens now? I don't have to be that on, all hands on deck mom anymore.
Yeah.
And so for some moms, I think that they have this really cool way of keeping their own interests cultivated as their kids are growing up. And then for other moms, we really have our identity in motherhood. And so there can be this loss or this panic or this, I don't know who I am, right? Like an identity crisis when the kids leave. So I thought that it would be interesting to just kind of bat this around and talk about how can you really figure out in this second chapter, what I like to call, and a lot of people I think call it that, the second chapter of your life, how do you figure out who you're really meant to be? Maybe in the first chapter, that is who you were meant to be, right? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But now that the kids are leaving the nest or they're older, now I think it's time to get back to that or be more of it. So when I say that, what comes up for you? What do you think? Were you the kind of mom that always was cultivating your own interests, and when the kids left, it was seamless? Or are you still trying to figure that out?
I'm trying to figure it out still. I will say, though, when you told me you wanted to do this topic, it really made me start thinking. Two things come to mind for me. First of all, I started anticipating empty nesting a year beforehand, to the point where I jumped on a Facebook for empty nesters page and started reading through the comments. And what I found when I was reading through those comments was just absolute fright. These were mothers who were just describing just utter and absolute loss and despair. And so I started getting kind of freaked out about it. At the time, I was still working full time, anticipating, cutting down on hours and things like that. So I didn't worry about it as much at that point, other than to say that, okay, at least I've got my job. But the other thought I had is that I was I don't want to use the word overachiever, but I do feel like I was pretty much like a hyper kind of mama when my kids were little, just getting involved. I think just like you, Karyn, just getting involved with everything under the sun for the sake of the kids, volunteering at their schools, volunteering at church, volunteering at on field trips, just constantly doing things like that until I went back to work. And then even before I went back to work, I tooled with going back and getting a PhD, and I tooled with writing a book, and I just had like all these things that I thought I wanted to do. And maybe I was doing all that back then because I wanted to impress my kids. I don't know. But now that I am empty nesting, I have no idea. I think I'm just kind of developing an identity of a person who wants to just have peace and quiet and a few hobbies and to get okay with that. That's sort of what my goal has been. But that's given circumstances also that, like what we talked about last week. So, that's a great question. I have a lot of exploring to do in this area. I have a feeling by the time you and I are done talking, I'll have a little bit more of an idea. What about you?
I was a very much involved mom, like you, Pam, but I loved it. And it was self-serving as well, because I didn't just see it as my mom role. I loved being in the PTO and going to the activities and volunteering. And I loved it. I didn't feel like I was making a sacrifice. That's the word that I would use. I didn't make a sacrifice because I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yes, it was fun. I loved it. So I don't feel like I really missed out on anything, but I would say that prior to having kids, there were some hobbies and interests and just directions that my life was going that I did not pursue. So when I think about this chapter of my life, I think there are some things that I want to get back to, and I've already started to bring them into my life. So I'm kind of on this journey. Like I'm very much like you. It sounds like I'm on this journey where I've set some things in motion, and I'm happy to be rediscovering me independent from my kids.
Yeah, I noticed that about you because you're working on more nutrition education, right?
Yes, I am. Like, I went back to school to get
Hmm.
another master's degree.
Hmm.
I am reconnecting with dance and theater. It's a passion of mine. I always wanted to learn Italian, and that has nothing to do with the kids or my spouse, and
Hmm.
I'm doing
Hmm.
that. So, yeah, I'm definitely on this path of rediscovering some of the things that I really didn't get to do as much while
Hmm.
I was raising kids.
I think that's wonderful, and I'm not surprised at all that you're doing that. I think, the one thing that I did lose about myself is, and I was talking to a friend, her name is Mary. She's a dear friend of mine from our teaching days. We met our husbands around the same time. We were both teachers down in San Antonio, and we were reconnecting today. And, I said something to her at the end of the call about her, personality. And she said, well, you're exactly like that, Pam. You are blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, I'm really not. I'm not that girl anymore. I lost like that fun loving, wanting to be the cruise director, wanting to, go do a snow angel in the snow, wanting to go out with snowshoes, wanting to do all these things. Like somewhere along the way, the fun side of me, the organizer side of me, like organizing social events, the entertaining side of me, somewhere along the way, I lost that part of me. But that's something that I really enjoyed a lot when I was younger. And so maybe that's kind of what I'm going to start getting more towards, is getting back into entertaining more, book clubs, maybe more
Book
crafting.
club, yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, I used to do crafting. I
Me
created
too.
memories for the kids, a bunch of photo books. I used to do a lot of writing. I used to do a ton of cooking and baking. There's just so many things I used to do that I got away from. And I think those are the things that I want to get back into.
Now,
So
when do you think you got away from? Can you pinpoint a time in your life when you feel like you got away from those things? I'm just curious.
working full time,
It was working
it
that did it.
sucked. My job sucked the life out of me. It was a
Yes.
very, we owned our own, well, he was the owner of a practice and I was his manager. And the goal was to not lose any of the money that he was making as a doctor. So he had this doctor role, but he was also a businessman owner. And my role, which was very serious, was to um, just maintain like 99% of everything, like with insurance and patient collections and things like that. Phone calls, like it was all about quality. And it was very, very taxing on me. And I was trying to raise 4 kids. I was trying to manage being through menopause, having myelopathy, and which is a major nerve issue. And all this during like the height of my stress. And so I just lost my zest for a lot of things in life.
That
And
makes
that's why
so
I
much
started pushing
sense.
so hard towards retiring, because I thought I need to start like decreasing my stress, and I need to get fun Pam back. That's really, I think, what
Yeah.
my goal is, to try to get the fun side of me back.
I think what you're talking about is so universal because so many women work full time and are raising kids. And it's
Yeah.
that, can we really have it all? And actually, I don't think we can. I think some things have to go by the wayside. And
Yeah.
this is one of those things. We have to make sure our kids are taken care of. We have to show up at work. And so the fun part of us, I don't know that my kids, if they were to say, like, these are the 5 adjectives I would describe mom as, I don't think the word fun would come out of their mouth because
Yeah.
that part of me had to kind of take a back seat while
Mhm.
I was making sure that they were
Yeah.
taken care of and I was making sure I had to attend to my job. It's like all
Mhm.
responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, and I do remember the time, it was when we first moved to Pennsylvania, and I had to go, I wanted to get into substitute teaching. So I had to go apply for my Pennsylvania teaching certification,
Mm-hmm.
which was a lot of money and it was a lot of time. And it was just a bunch of baloney because it was just for substitute teaching. But nonetheless, I had to do it. And all along the way, I was kind of thinking about maybe writing a book and getting my PhD
Yeah.
and things like that. And I'm like, oh, who was that crazy girl? Where did that energy come from in me back then? Because I have absolutely like the opposite of that now. So, and I'm okay with that too. But there was that side of me for a while, and she's left. She's gone.
she's left the building. But
So
maybe a new, more amazing version of Pam is on the horizon and developing now. So when we hit this transition point, there's a lot of different ways that I think women handle it or feel about it. And it's really a testament to us as multitaskers, because we never just feel one emotion, right? We never, with multitasking, we're constantly have our hand in all these different pots. Well,
yeah,
emotions are the same way for women. We have all these different emotions. And so
yeah.
I just wanted to talk about for a few minutes some of the emotions that and thoughts and feelings that come up surrounding this transition part of your life when the kids leave and you're trying to rediscover who you are. So number one would be having mixed emotions, right? Like I think I have that exactly. I have mixed
Yeah.
emotions about it. What about you?
No, I'm not mixed anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And
But I
so
see how in the process you could. Yeah.
let's see though if you identify with any of the other things. So identity reevaluation. So thoughts about redefining who you are. Who am I now? What is my purpose in life? What do I want that second chapter to be about? Feelings of uncertainty, anxiety. So even just you can go from uncertainty to even like it could create a level of anxiety, like especially if you really put all of your energy into your kids,
Yeah.
maybe neglected your partner, neglected everything, right, to raise your kids. Now that
Mhm.
they're gone, like who am I?
Yeah.
What's my role in this life? So that could create anxiety, loneliness, which we talk about all the time on this podcast because it's called the Loneliness Project.
Yeah.
Loneliness because your kids aren't around anymore. Maybe they're not coming by as much. Maybe
Mhm.
you miss those days when they were young and the play groups and
Mhm.
the maybe carefree or more fun part of all of it. And then, of course, again, because we're women and we are capable of having multiple emotions, you might feel freedom, liberation, right? You might just feel like ecstatic and joyful. You know what? I did it. I raised these kids, and I know I've said this on the podcast before, and I tell my kids this all the time when they get mad at me. I am not your friend. My goal is to raise an independent, productive member of society. Like it's like a record. Like they should put that on my tombstone. Like I say it all the freaking time. And so, like when I know that they're okay, that actually brings me joy. It makes me feel free. And then lastly, renewed focus on personal relationships. So you might feel like you want to reconnect with family members you've lost touch with, friends that you've lost touch with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your spouse, reconnecting with your spouse. Maybe it's those hobbies that you want to do, but just reconnecting with different parts of yourself, different relationships. Do you identify with any of those feelings that I mentioned?
Yeah. I love it. One of them you sparked. My sister-in-law, I was at work yesterday and my sister-in-law was calling me and she never calls me. So I answered it thinking it was an emergency. And I was like, Debbie, is everything okay? And she's like, oh yeah, hi. I just got off work early. I was cleaning out my boxes and I came across some letters that you wrote to me.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So I said, can you send me a couple pictures? So anyhow, she sent me these screenshots of these letters that I used to write. And I used to be a letter writer. I used to be a journaler. I used to be a writer. These are all the things I used to love. I used to be a teacher of writing. I used to teach my students. I've gotten lots of training on that. And I started writing a book about my family history. So yeah, I think right now, out of all the things in the list, the thing that resonates the most with me is going back to who younger Pam was. Um, and that was those things I just like, those hobbies and that creativity that used to just come out of my brain. That's really where I'm going right now.
yeah. I
So
love that. I think that's so positive, right?
yeah,
And going back to fun Pam or younger version of Pam with all the wisdom that you've gained along the way. So it's
right.
really like a new and improved
We're pretty
version.
lucky, aren't we? We women
Yeah.
are pretty lucky.
Yeah. That we can do that, right?
'Cause we
Okay.
can look
So,
in
oh, go ahead.
No, because we can look in a rearview mirror and we can really say, those were the mistakes we made.
Yes.
This is what we've learned from. And that's
Hmm.
what I want and that's what I don't want.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Because we know ourselves so much better. right? After 50. And so any of those kinds of feelings, if you're listening and you're thinking, I really have, that one's really me, or the other one's really me, whatever, if it's multiple, it's all valid. So I just want to make sure that we all know that no matter what you're feeling, whether it's guilt or shame or freedom, there's no wrong way to feel or think about this time in your life. It's all valid. It's all good.
And I like that you came up with this topic, Karyn, because I didn't put any thought into it at all. Why not? Why didn't I put anything? Why don't we women take that time, to honor ourselves that way, to give ourselves that? Why don't we do that? We're just not used to it, and that's one of the things you are so good at teaching the girls on this podcast about. I love it.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is just part of me.
There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing that any of us are doing is considered selfish or we're not going to neglect our families. We're not going to I'm not going to go get a sex change and become a man, for Pete's sakes. I just want to maybe get back to who I used to be. You know what I mean? So,
totally. Yeah, I think so many people listening can resonate with that. So I created this really cool, I think it's really cool, this quiz. It's called the Rediscovery Roadmap Quiz. And it's supposed to help you rediscover who you want to be moving forward. So if you are doing the dishes or taking a walk or even driving in the car, you can do this because you don't really have to write. If you can, break out your phone or a pencil or something, some paper, hit pause if you can do that, and then come back to us when you have it. If not, it's okay. You can still do this just in your head. So it's 10 questions, and it's going to help you discover what this new direction is in your life. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm going to reveal what the results mean for you. Okay. I'm going to
get write them down or anything?
You know what? I'm going to, because I have it, but I haven't taken it. So I'm going to actually do it, because I would like to know, because I'm going to give you.
I'm going to write them down too, if that's okay. Okay.
Because the results it's easier to write it down. So you can come back to this, listener, or you can just do it in your head, however it works for you. Okay. So question number 1 is, what hobby did you set aside that you can revisit now?
I like that.
Okay. Question number 2, is there a skill or craft you've always wanted to learn but never had time for?
Oh my gosh, I love these.
Okay. Question number 3. What destinations are on your travel wish list now that you have fewer restrictions?
Heck.
Number 4, are there volunteer opportunities or community services you felt drawn to in the past?
That's where I feel kind of bad, because I did used to be a big volunteer.
And you'll see how this all plays out in the end. But if the answer to that question is no, you should put no, because this is going to show you which areas you should focus your time in. So it's either yes, and these are what they are, or it's just nope, I don't have any interest in that.
No, and no guilt.
Exactly. So I want, yes. So please, if any of these, I don't want to travel. It's not what I want to do. Just say no, because this is really going to help you figure out where you want to put your energy. What aspect of your physical health have you neglected but would like to improve?
Ooh, good one.
Number 6, is there a professional or creative goal that excites you?
Okay.
Number 7, what's one activity that makes you feel energized and alive that you could do more often? And if you have more than one, please put as many as you can think of. Okay, ready for number 8?
Yep.
Okay, number 8. Which relationships outside of your immediate family do you want to strengthen?
These are such good questions.
Making us think.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Are we good to move forward?
Yeah.
You can always pause the player if you need to think about this more. Let's go ahead and talk about number 9. So we have 10, so there's only 2 more. What's a fear you'd like to conquer now that you have more time to change yourself? Ooh.
You're making me want to journal about these.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I should have answered these for myself ahead of time because now I'm like, I don't know. Okay. And then lastly, what does your ideal day look like now? Describe the activities that fill your perfect day.
I like these questions. These are like the easiest ones there could be for us women.
You were okay answering them? No problems?
Oh yeah. I'm going
Okay.
to have a lot of fun answering them.
Okay, so now it's time to think about what does all of this mean? Let's put it all together. So the questions 1 through 3, so 1, 2, and 3, they have to do with craving, creativity, or skill building. And so if you found that you were just like firing on all cylinders for questions 1 through 3, if you have lots of responses in 1 through 3, then it's time to focus on personal development and learning new skills. So that's what that says about you. If your answers lean in the excitement towards questions 1 through 3, then it's about personal development and learning a new skill. If most of your answers excited you in 4 through 6, then that means that community and wellness are the paths you might want to explore right now. So look for local volunteer opportunities or health improvement activities. So it's all about volunteering and improving your health if you get excited about questions 4 through 6. And then if 7 through 10 really revved your engine, then it's time to explore your social connections, ones that you feel like are vital for you. So prioritize travel, social events, and activities that challenge your comfort zone. All right. Do you want to share anything about what this says about you, Pam?
Yeah, for me, I definitely resonated the most with 1 through 3 and then 7 through 10. And finally, the 4, 5, and 6, the community wellness. I think because I started, just like you, I've been in the midst of health, because of going through what I have gone through. I started that journey probably, a couple years ago, I'd say 1 or 2 years ago. And so I don't need, like, that is just maintenance. Like I'll put on something every morning from some doctor that I'll listen to just to kind of like, just for fun. But the other stuff is much more exciting to me.
Yeah, that's funny. We're exactly the same. So it's the first set of questions and the last set of questions that definitely get me most excited. And because I feel like wellness and volunteerism, that's something that I've done for so long. It's been a part of my journey for so long that it doesn't really excite me that much anymore. And it's now kind of like rote. So it's those other things that I have been missing out on that I like building, like creativity. I love that. Like finding something creative. I love being creative. I'm not the best at it, but who cares, right? I still love it. Like art. I love art. I suck at it, but I don't care. I love it.
Yeah.
Cooking, all of those kinds of things. And then I always like having more social connections and traveling. That always is of interest to me. So I'm like the bookend, like you. Yeah. The beginning and the end.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. All right. So now that you know these are the areas that you would like to go in, let's think about like, what can I actually do? What are some of the passions that I can ignite? I feel like Pam and I both kind of have a sense of where we want to go, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're thinking, I've been out of the game for so long that I don't even know what to do with myself. So here's some ideas. So the first one is to join a themed type of group. So that might be people that like taking culinary tours, or maybe you love photography. You could join a photography group. Or our good friend Sheridan, she's in charge of a hiking club. So things like that. So immersing yourself in some kind of group where you guys share a common passion. And with this, you might be able to immerse yourself in some kind of new culture that maybe you haven't explored before. Like maybe, let's take me, for example. Maybe I join like an art club or something like that, which is something I've never done because I just didn't feel like, hey, I'm good enough for that. But something like that, something to just like immerse yourself completely in a whole different kind of activity with other people who also enjoy that type of activity. Okay, and then the next one is enroll in adult education classes.
Yeah.
And these could be anything.
That's a good
I am a huge fan of this,
Yeah.
because I always say that I'm on this earth to learn, and I'm just a constant learner. I love learning new things. So there are classes at your local community college specifically for adult education learners. So people who are not trying to get a degree, but just taking a class. So you'll be in class with people that are like you. There's that online, I guess it's a subscription, which it's called Masterclass. Do you know what that is?
No.
Yeah, it's called Masterclass, and it's all kinds of classes that you might want to learn about. I think there's a monthly fee. They always have little specials on it, but it's experts in their field talking about, there's hundreds of different topics. So it could be formal, like you actually enroll in a class, or it could just be a video, that you watch on something that you want to learn about. Volunteering, of course, if that calls to you, if you feel like you haven't explored that in your life. And it could be a way to even get yourself abroad. Like if you want to go overseas with it, there's actually a Peace Corps for adults. So literally the kids are gone. So maybe you could, right? If that's an interest of yours and you want to go overseas, maybe a mission, something like that.
That would be cool to be a missionary in Africa.
Right? Wouldn't that be? Yeah. So something like that. I'm just saying, dare to dream, because it could happen.
Yeah.
It's a really cool way to go overseas. Let's see, a couple more things.
Do you have the library on your list? Because often libraries have is that on your list?
It's not. So say more about that.
Yeah, often libraries have little classes you can take too, as well as craft stores. Like we have a Michael's or Pat Catan's, and you can go over to their counters and they usually have flyers that offer classes for crafting. And then the library often has interesting things as well.
Of course, totally. Yes. You never know what your local library has. They're usually a wealth of information. I didn't think of that. And then another one, which is close to our hearts, is start a YouTube channel, a podcast, or a blog. And after turning 50, that's exactly what Pam and I did. We started a podcast.
Much fun too.
And it's so much fun. So grab your bestie and just who cares if anybody listens? We started this, I don't even know how long ago, saying we don't care if anybody listens. It's just us. We're going to enjoy it. Maybe our husbands, but so start a hobby like that. Why not?
Our YouTube channel is embarrassing. We don't have many subscribers. We don't have a lot of viewers, but that, like you said earlier, I have to say the podcasters are actually, there's a lot of them. And so I do know we have a pretty good handful of people. So if you wanted to start a podcast with somebody, I encourage you. Karyn and I will listen.
Yeah. Yes, we'll listen and tell us. Yeah. See, there's another reason you can use that text feature. Tell us what your podcast is. We'll plug it here and we'll take a listen. And then I just want to say one more thing lastly, and this one is always near and dear to my heart. I try to do it daily, but it's exploring mindfulness, maybe going to wellness retreats, yoga, like that kind of thing, like really going in to learn about yourself. Meditation is a great way to learn about who you are, why you were put on this earth. We're talking like going deep. Some of these things are fun, like Pam and I having a podcast. And then some of these things are about really learning about how can I be my best me. So they can run the gamut from fun to deep.
Some people might want to, even along the lines of spirituality, and some people might want to start revisiting, like if you if you have a particular religion you are, for example, if you're a Catholic, you can start going to daily mass if you want, or you can start going to like adoration. Like a lot of the churches do have things going on during the day for
Yes.
retirees.
Yeah.
So
What
mindfulness
else? And can you think of
throughout.
anything else? What am
No,
I missing?
no, I think you hit like all the ones that I can think of, plus more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at least, and now I do want to say that like everything that we just talked about, it may have sparked nothing for you. It might, not that it didn't spark anything, but maybe none of it really fit for you. But maybe it is the spark to just get your wheels turning, just get you thinking about like what could be possible for me and what do I want to add in? You know,
Mhm.
maybe you already have a couple things that you do, but you want to add something else in. Or maybe you're doing something and you're like, I thought, I used to like this, but I don't like it anymore. I've
Mhm.
changed. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping that just these different ideas that we had will just spark some sort of thought for you. That's
I
my
just,
hope.
I got a funny thought in my head as you were saying that. I was thinking to myself, we're just giving you like a little kick in the fanny right now. Just
Totally.
like, go ahead and get off the couch because you know
Yeah.
you want to. No, actually, I'm teasing because I think winter's fine for being on the couch and being, semi-active. But yeah, if this is something that you've been needing to do for yourself, Karen, just picture Karen and I are just giving you like a good little nudge.
Yes, this is that nudge that you've been looking for. It
Or the kick
might
in the butt if you
be,
need that.
say that again.
Or the kick in the butt if that's
Or it
helpful.
could be, yeah, kick in the butt, nudge, punch in the arm, whatever. But I love what you're saying, Pam, that, winter is maybe not the time. Maybe I should have had this as a spring episode, but give yourself that time. You're like the squirrel storing nuts right now. You're
Yeah.
gathering your energy, you're doing your
Yeah.
thought, because when spring comes, then you're going to just like pop
Mhm.
out and, the sky's the limit. You can go
And
wherever you want to go.
and maybe grab yourself a little notebook or journal and just start jotting ideas down.
Yes, that's a great first step.
Mhm.
Actually, we're
Mhm.
going to talk about that in just a minute. Actually, let's talk about that now.
Okay.
So, if you have resistance, like if you're listening and you're thinking, I don't know, I don't even know where to start, I don't know what,
Resistance. Yeah.
that kind of thing, I think this is a good time to talk
Mhm.
about that. So I have, let's see, 5 steps. If you're
Okay.
kind of feeling stuck on the couch, I just can't do it. I can't get off. I can't motivate. That kick in the butt that they're talking about is not working for me. Please keep these few things in mind. So number one, and this is my motto in everything. If any of my clients are listening, I tell you this all the time. It's start small.
Yeah.
You do not need to make big changes. This is not about that. This is about being the tortoise, taking those baby steps that will become big leaps, and that big leap will become a giant transformation. You just have to give it the time to become that. And the way to do it is to just start small, low stress, manageable, just easy peasy. Like, let's say that you're interested in taking a class, but going to the community college and signing up and all of that and actually going there, that's just too much. Well, then maybe that master class that I talked about is for you. Or maybe you just Google like how to cook paella, or what, maybe you want to cook and you just want to watch a video. You just take those small steps, and then eventually maybe you'll have a cooking club or like a not so gourmet club like we had,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It will grow, but let yourself start small.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And
Yes.
then set realistic goals. So you'll want to think to yourself, what is my goal here? And you want that goal to be realistic, because if you're thinking, my goal is to climb Machu Picchu, maybe you don't start there. Maybe you start with a hiking club or walking or, that kind of thing. You start small and you set those realistic goals. Anything you want to say about that?
Just that I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then routine integration, which means be consistent. So you're going to continually, you don't want to plateau and stay at that one place. I mean, small steps are okay in the beginning, but you do want to progress. So eventually, if your goal is to go work around the world, then you want to be working towards that. So make consistent small changes, but don't get stagnant or stuck in that place. Keep
Mhm.
moving forward.
Mhm.
Always remember mindfulness and reflection. So that's when you want to look back, like Pam was talking about, journaling is a great way to do this. That's when you want to look back and say, am I happy? I made these changes in my life. Do I like them? Is it enough? Is it too much? Always be reflecting. And if you're not a journaler, that's okay. You could even just do it in your mind.
Yeah.
How is this going for me? You want to just reflect on it so that you know. You don't want to wake up one day and say, oh my gosh, I've been 10 years down this path and I'm miserable because I told myself I was going to do it. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay. That's what growing is about.
Yeah, those are really good tips. And I think resistance is a big word right now, especially because it is winter and a lot of us battle with it. And I think if you are one of our listeners who that is like your biggest issue right now, your resistance, your middle goals might be at the top. The middle ones that Karyn mentioned, numbers 4, 5, and 6, I believe, because that to me would be an indication that maybe you should make an appointment, whether it's an online or in person. Probably in person would be the best, but online with maybe some type of health provider to maybe get your bloods checked, or to get yourself on a multivitamin.
Yes.
Because sometimes there's an underlying problem with resistance. It isn't only just
a mental block.
There really could be something going on with you. And so
yes,
with that, your goal for the following week is just pick up the phone and get on the internet and get yourself an appointment.
Yes. And that's so funny, because that was the last thing I was going to say about when you have resistance. And sometimes you actually do need to seek support, seek help. And that could be in the form of a doctor if you're really feeling low energy.
Yeah.
I love that, Pam. I wasn't going to say that specifically, but that's so true. I see this all the time when people feel like, well, I just can't get motivated. Well, maybe there's actually a medical or a mental reason for that.
And along the lines of that, Karyn, we don't think a lot of you guys are listening to us on YouTube, but we don't know if you're on YouTube. I would say YouTube for me has been a really, really good source of information. Like, for example, I have something going on with my thyroid right now. I've had a couple ultrasounds that have shown that I have some things on it that need to get biopsied. I've had one biopsy. And before I called the doctor to even make an appointment, I just went onto YouTube and brought up a very reputable doctor. And he was, it's a 20-minute video about thyroid education. And so that way you get to arm yourself with information. I know there's other places you could look, the internet, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, things like that. But I would tell you that I feel like there are some really high quality people on YouTube who just spend their free time helping others, people like Karyn, for example. So give that a shot. If you don't know how to do YouTube, ask your spouse, or even send Karyn a night message, because maybe you guys need to just, subscribe to it or something like that. But
and you never know what that's going to spark for you.
Yeah.
It might be, hey, I'm going to go see that person that's on YouTube. Or, hey, they mentioned such and such that I could try. I mean, there actually are some amazing resources on YouTube, just how to, and then put in whatever your issue is.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, we cannot, I don't think, can have this conversation without talking about your partner, your spouse. Because as you are growing and changing and trying to become more of the person that you feel you're meant to be in this second act of your life, your spouse is there too. And of course, I'm assuming that you have a spouse. Maybe you don't, but I think a lot of our listeners, don't you think, Pam, have a spouse?
Probably.
Yeah, so I definitely want to talk about that. Like, how can you involve your spouse in all of this? And so I've got 4 steps for that to involve your spouse. So number 1, share your interests with your spouse, because maybe they have the same interest as you. I think that's a great place to start. I'm really interested in this new hobby. And is this something you want to do together? Bill and I were actually just talking about going to taking a dance class together. And
cool.
I was shocked when I found out that he would actually be interested in that.
Yeah.
So you never know. Like, you never know what your spouse actually would be interested in. I'd much rather dance with him than anybody else. So yeah, start there. Start and see, like, do we have shared interests? Could we pursue a hobby together? I always think after the kids leave that doing something together with your spouse is a good idea. What do you think about that one, Pam?
Completely agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Love it.
And then Don't be afraid, though, to have your own individual pursuits, because even though you want to share everything with your spouse, right, it isn't actually the healthiest. We should have some individual things that we do away from our partner that really have nothing to do with the kids, nothing to do with another family member, nothing to do with your spouse, just something that brings you joy, right? We have to nurture that independent side of ourselves as well.
I love that.
Yeah. And then through all of it, you want to make sure that you're communicating with your spouse. You don't want to go off to your new cooking class or your hiking club and not tell your spouse. You want to let your spouse know, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I would love for you to join me. And if you're not interested, that's great. This is what I'm going to do. And when I'm done, I'm going to come back and let's, hang out, and I'll tell you all about it. Just as with your spouse, you're going to say, hey, you go to that bowling league and come back and tell me how it was, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
So you're communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, just be open to new experiences, because who knows what this is going to bring into your life. It could be really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are such good. That's really very true. Very motivating.
Awesome. So that's what I wanted to end with today. We talked about so many things. I don't even know if I could recap them all, but let's see. Number one, this transition can bring up a lot of feelings. So let yourself have those thoughts and feelings, because there is no right or wrong way to feel about this. And you are a woman, so you can feel multiple ways, and that's a-okay, because that's how we roll. Okay, we talked about the roadmap, Rediscover Roadmap Quiz. You did that. You kind of saw, like, where do my passions lie? What category should I move into? We talked about some actual ideas for, like, what could I explore? What could I actually do with this new free time that I have? We talked about resistance and what to do about resistance. And then lastly, we talked about how can you engage with your spouse in this, but also keep your independence and have some activities that you do for yourself. I think I did do that. I think I did recap. What am I missing, Pam?
No, that was everything. I don't think you missed anything.
Yeah, so this is cool. It's just, like Pam said, this is your little nudge in that direction. If you've been sitting on the couch and you've been thinking, I wish I could. This is your kick in the pants. This is your nudge to go for it, because why not? Right? Yes. You're in your second act. You're not a spring chicken anymore. So it's time. It's time while you still can, while you probably don't have too many health issues. It's time to go after what you want and be more of who you are meant to be on this earth.
That's right. That's right. Amen, sister.
Amen. All right, my friend. That's all that I have for today.
Well, good night to everybody. And thank you, Karyn, for what a wonderful conversation.
I enjoyed it as always, like all of our conversations with you. One more plug. Talk to us, get in touch, text us. We want to hear from you. What do you want to hear more of on the podcast? Give us your thoughts and feelings. And yeah, we can't wait for you to connect.
Yes, exactly. Pretty please. Okay. Bye.
Bye.